The first breath choked him. Copper and rock coated his throat, like licking a battery wrapped in spoiled meat. It was the smell of a slaughterhouse after a hot week. Then the cold hit, not winter air, but a damp, concrete chill that seeped through his thin orange jumpsuit and gnawed straight to his bones. He tried to move, but his limbs were heavy weights, strapped down tight to something brutally hard. Raw panic shot through him. Where was he? Fragments crashed into his mind, rain blurring the windshield of his old Ford pickup. A flickering blood-red neon sign, the Wayfarer's Rest, vacancy, an argument with Mabel Crouch, the motel owner, sharp voices, fear, her gnarled hand shoving him hard, then blackness, until now, until this nightmare. His eyes strained in the gloom. Shapes formed, rough stone walls, slick with wetness, reflecting light from a single bare bulb swinging high above. It cast long, dancing shadows. He was strapped to a heavy wooden table, thick leather cut into his wrists, ankles, and chest. Above him, hanging from a grease-blackened chain, was the impossible thing, a massive rusted circular saw blade, jagged teeth glinting. It wasn't moving. Yet, hello. His voice was a dry rasp, swallowed by silence. Only his pounding heart answered. The air tasted stale, dust, wet stone, decay, and that thick copper smell of old blood. This wasn't just a cell, it was a stage. He was the show. The cold case slammed back, the Wayfarer Phantom, his last shot after the senator's son disaster. Disgraced, suspended, facing firing, he'd chased whispers online, a link between the Phantom's notes and disappearances near Route 96. 7 victims gone near Cinder Flats, Nevada. Only spidery notes left. Ghost hunting in a ghost town motel. He'd argued with Mabel. Room 7, the Phantom's rumored room, sealed shut since '03. Her fear was real, her face white. That room's cursed. Agent Thorne, she'd hissed. Ain't nothing good behind that door. Then the shove, the darkness. Was she the monster? The thought was crazy, yet here he was. Stone walls, restraints, the blade hanging over his chest. Time meant nothing. Thirst scraped his throat, hunger twisted his gut, silence pressed down, broken only by frantic skittering in the dark. Rats. The sound made his skin crawl. Then, the silence shattered, with a metal groan like a coffin opening. The chain shrieked, the saw blade jerked, then it began a slow, horrible descent, straight down, aiming for his chest. The rusted teeth gleamed like hungry fangs. This wasn't a trap. This was execution. Despair washed over him. The Phantom hadn't stopped. He was here, watching. Thorne strained against the leather straps. He pulled until blood slicked his wrists and ankles. The straps held. The blade came down, slow and steady. The smell of hot metal cut the rot. He screamed, a raw sound of terror. Only silence answered. The skittering grew louder. Shadows moved. Not a few rats, dozens. A seething tide from cracks in the floor, drawn by his fear, his sweat, his blood. Their eyes glittered black, disgust wired with a desperate idea. Poe, the pendulum, the rats, salvation. His captors left something beside the table, just within reach. He arched painfully. Lay a small greasy paper bag. Inside, half a stale ham sandwich, crawling with ants. Disgusting. Salvation. Ignoring the bile in his throat, he stretched. Fingertips brushed the greasy paper. Another agonizing stretch. Got it. He dragged it closer. Rats swarmed it instantly. With trembling, bloody fingers, he tore off a chunk of the rancid meat. Moving slowly, he smeared the greasy fat onto the leather strap binding his right wrist, the strap under the saw's path. He forced himself still, breathing shallow. The blade hissed closer, only feet away now, radiating heat. Rats, bold from his stillness and the smell, surged onto the table. They ran over his legs, his body. Cold noses sniffed his neck. Whiskers brushed his cheek. One ran across his face. He choked back a scream. Hold. They are your only hope. Then came the sound, frantic, high-pitched gnawing. Hundreds of tiny teeth on leather, right at his wrist. They chewed the baited strap, more joined. The leather stretched, darkened, began to fray. The blade was inches away. Heat blasted his skin. He saw pits in the rust. Snap. His right hand was free. Pain shot through his shoulder like needles, but it was free. He clawed at the chest strap buckle. Stiff, corroded, slick with blood. Come on. The saw hissed, its shadow on his chest, heat blistering the jumpsuit. His fingernails tore. Give. With a final wrench, the buckle gave. the strap loosened. He heaved sideways, rolling off the table just as the saw teeth kissed the leather where his heart had been. He hit the freezing stone floor hard, breath knocked out. Above, the saw bit deep into the wood, with a sickening thunk, showering the spot with splinters. The rats vanished into the shadows. The saw whined, jammed in the wood. Silence rushed back, broken by his ragged gasps. He was free, shaking, bleeding, covered in grease and filth, but free. He scrambled up, legs wobbling. The room was the same. Stone walls, swaying bulb, ruined table, saw stuck like a trophy, but the air felt different, thicker, charged. Watched. He stumbled towards the only feature, a heavy, iron-bound wooden door. Before he reached it, the room shifted. The stone walls seemed to ripple. Shadows deepened into impossible angles. Crude symbols scratched near the door frame began to glow with a deep, ugly red light. The temperature plunged to Arctic cold, then spiked to desert heat. His sweat froze and boiled. The smell of decay choked him, mixed now with ozone and hot iron. A low hum vibrated up through the floor, shaking his bones. This wasn't just a cell, it was alive, hungry. The door groaned open on rusted hinges. Beyond lay a dim corridor smelling of mildew, stale smoke, and cheap cleaner. Motel carpets, faded burgundy and gold patterns, hideously familiar. He was back in the Wayfarer's Rest, but wrong. The corridor stretched impossibly long both ways. Identical numbered doors lined it like tombstones. Lights flickered, casting jumping shadows. The air buzzed with static. Faint, broken whispers leaped from under every door. Cries, laughter, arguments, all mixed into a maddening sound. Room 7 was opposite. Door ajar, darkness like oil inside. He had to get out. He ran, bare feet slapping sticky carpet. Past doors to 101, 102, 103. The corridor seemed to grow longer. Door 104 vanished, replaced by another 101. A low chuckle came from a door marked 13, a number that hadn't been there. He ran faster. At the far end, an exit sign glowing red above a heavy fire door. He slammed into the push bar. It didn't budge. A thick new chain looped through the handles, locked tight from the outside. No. He pounded on the cold metal. The sound died. The whispers got louder, rising, becoming one slithering voice from the walls. Redemption is earned, not escaped. The lights died. Darkness. Then, one by one, the doors along the endless hall creaked open. Just a few inches from each slice of black, a single pale eye appeared, glowing with that same sickly red light. Watching him, dozens, hundreds, fixed on him. A new sound cut through the static. Heavy, deliberate thuds of boot steps, coming fast from room 7. A figure stepped from the gloom near the chained exit. Tall, broad-shouldered, an old-fashioned sheriff's uniform, broad-brimmed hat pulled low. Sheriff Ezekiel Boone, lead investigator on the original Phantom case, vanished without a trace after the 7th victim, presumed dead. Easy now, son. Boone's voice boomed, distorted, slow and thick like gravel. He held up a massive gloved hand, commanding. Looks like you found the basement. Nasty business. He stepped closer. His boots made no sound now. His face was wrong, waxy, pale, eyes to dark, pit swallowing light. A smile stretched his lips thin, showing too many sharp teeth. Mabel called me, said we had a curious one, poking where the light don't shine, where it shouldn't shine. He reached for Thorne's arm. His touch burned like dry ice, even through the jumpsuit. Thorne recoiled, slamming against the chained door. The watching eyes leaned closer, pulsing red, the hum vibrating his skull. Suddenly, blinding white light flooded the corridor from the lobby. Real light, sirens wailed, closing fast. Red and blue flashes strobed through the dirty windows. A voice, loud with radio static, boomed, Nevada State Police. Everyone inside. Come out now, hands up. Boone's smile vanished. His form flickered, static dancing around his edges. He hissed, a sound like steam escaping a coffin, and dissolved backwards into the shadow of room 7. The watching eyes snapped shut. The heavy feeling lifted. The corridor lights flickered back on, steady. It was just a normal, decaying motel hall, 20 feet long. The exit door was unchained. He stumbled through it into the cool desert dawn. Police cars, lights blazing, surrounded the motel. Officers crouched behind doors, weapons ready. Mabel Crouch stood near the office, handcuffed. Terror filled her face, but she wasn't looking at the police. Her wide, bloodshot eyes stared with horror at room 7. An officer rushed over, grabbing his arm, a firm, human grip. Jesus, you all right? We got an anonymous call. Frantic, said someone, was held in the basement. Mention the Wayfarer Phantom. The officer shone a light over his torn jumpsuit. The bloody bites. Medic, over here. He sagged against the officer, gulping clean air. Basement, he choked, pointing back. Saw, rats. Boone, Sheriff Boone. The officer stiffened. He exchanged a sharp look with his partner. Boone, Ezekiel Boone. Son, he vanished 20 years ago. Presumed dead. Declared legally dead 10 years back. The partner walked cautiously to the open doorway, shining his powerful light inside. The beam lit a short, grubby corridor ending at a blank, dusty cinder block wall. Peeling paint, exposed wires. No stone, no saw, just decay. Basement, the partner said, turning back. This place doesn't have a basement. Foundation's solid slab. Always has been. They led him away. Mabel was shoved into a cruiser, babbling about the pat, feeding the walls, and he's still hungry. Forensic teams tore the place apart 4 days. Found nothing. No hidden rooms. No torture tools. Just dust and decay. Room 7 was just an empty, dusty room. Weeks later, Quantico, Virginia. The interview room smelled like bleach and bad coffee. The thick official report lay on the table. His suspension was now a firing. The report was clear. Acute psychotic break caused by extreme job stress, isolation, and obsession with the Wayfarer Phantom case. Mabel Crouch, diagnosed with late-stage dementia and paranoia, made the anonymous call in a confused moment. The Wayfarer's rest was set for demolition. Case closed. Phantom buried. Again. But he knew. The cold stone floor, the bite of the straps, the heat from the saw teeth, the squirming weight of the rats. Boone, that impossible figure smelling of the grave. That wasn't madness, that was real. Yesterday, the package arrived at his cheap apartment. Brown paper, no return address, postmarked Cinder Flats, NV. Inside, wrapped in burlap smelling of dust and something coppery, was a small, perfectly rusted circular saw blade, a tiny copy of the one that almost killed him, mounted on a cheap base, clinging to one jagged tooth. Preserved in a drop of yellowed resin was a single coarse grey hair, rat fur, and a note, a torn slip of yellowed paper. The writing was cramped, spidery, unmistakably the Phantom's hand. Redemption is a room you checked out, but the motel always remembers its guests. See you soon. The air in the apartment thickened. The hair on his arm stood up. Outside sounds seemed far away. Somewhere, faintly, he heard the frantic skittering of tiny claws. The Wayfarer wasn't done. Redemption wasn't earned. It was a life sentence, and the walls were always hungry.